This is a good question for you as an umpire developer across all these years. I've always joked that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, that Melbourne Netball should continue without knowing that I'm not there, and the branding isn't affected, and things just stay in place, and that there is a plan that long and the short of it, no, the company wouldn't be sold; it would be handed over to somebody who really does know Melbourne Netball very well. I guess the question is how responsible do you then see the coordinators in those moments? Because it's not me necessarily being there to say this is the standards of the branding. What do you think about that sort of area?
I think it goes back to how a coordinator sees their job and sees the loyalty to the company which you've already obtained from most of your 16 or so coordinators. They're going to have to pick up the slack in some form or another. And this is where they need to think about, how would I go about keeping a company going when my boss is in a coma? And it might be a good way of finding that out is to have some form of workshop. Have some form of workshop and ask that question. Put them into groups of 3 and say, resolve this problem. Because can you imagine that suddenly you're in a coma and tonight I've got to organise umpires, venues.
Do you know what? It would happen.
Of course it would happen.
It would definitely happen.
And I think, but what they have to think about is all the things that could go, that support that environment that they're already in.
Yeah.
How do I go about it next week when, I've got to go and pick up scorecards, I've got to go and place money in the float, I've got to go to all these different venues. How do we go about keeping the company afloat until my boss comes out of her coma? That would be an interesting workshop to do.
Yeah, because what we're really talking about too is how really, when no one's watching, do they see themselves in their own levels of capability?
Absolutely.
And that is a different area of psychology for this type of job, because you're asking them to really bank on themselves.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think it's coming close to the business owner psychology, when there is only you. And you are going to be required to do elements that you just didn't anticipate would be there.
Yes, never done before.
And of course, and I guess the one thing that I do absolutely believe in with the coordinators that come through, we've only maybe hit 3 or 4 coordinators across 16 years that really were bad choices. They lacked the maturity to even hold and stand tall about any decision making, and that just comes with life, really. But the ones that do and they hold their own is they're the people that do believe in their own ability on some level regardless. Now that does start small because there is a natural fear again, but it's the same as being an umpire in a court, and what the boundaries are and what you know and what you don't know and how you and look, that's how I've developed a business as well. I mean, nobody trained me to be a business person. I discovered that myself. Now that I do have business mentors that are at elite league, yes, it helps me, but that hit and miss was based on embracing failure as well. So,
because one of the questions you could ask these coordinators is, what is the probability of Claire being in a coma? And, you could rate that as, the likelihood of that happening would probably be a very low percentage. But it may happen.
But bedridden for if I was in an accident. I mean,
Absolutely.
this is a possibility. Or overseas because I'm building another business or I'm starring in Les Mis.
Yes, exactly.
But it is, but I've got to say, with the way that they do step up, I think the key elements are you give them enough room and they pop.
Yes.
Because that you've got their back. Yes, people are going to make mistakes, but they are calculated mistakes. They're well thought. They're not ignorant. No process. And I've often said this to coordinators across time. I don't really care about the decision you've made so long as you can eyeball me and justify it, because I want to understand what that process was under the conditions at the time in the moment.
Yes.
And I know it is always unique. You know, I mean, what does happen when you go to a netball centre and you find there is no goalpost? Has that happened? Yes, it has.
Absolutely.
What did I do? Well, not that I expect everybody else to do it, but I went to another centre and said, I've got
Yes.
the weirdest request of all time. Give
Yep.
me a goalpost, and there I was with a red
we put it in a
flag,
truck
and it
and-
was in my little car.
That's right.
I must have looked hilarious trying to carry something that I could barely carry.
Yes.
But that was the logic at the... Did those games go on? Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
You know.
Yes.
Which is... Well, it's funny in retrospect.
Well, it is funny in retrospect, but it's not funny at the time.
No, of course,
Because
it's a
you've
little
got
bit
whole
stressing,
venue and a whole
you know,
stack
of
people
course.
arriving, and they're going to be
all they want is they want their
aggravated.
game. They want their game of catching, which is
Yeah.
funny. But, I mean, I look forward to interviewing Dom on this because he has probably done, well, probably not as many coordinator shifts as I have, but be close, very close. And so just in the law of averages, he would have come across some...
He would have come across a lot of...
And I
different-
don't remember a lot of them, to be
No,
quite
of
honest.
course
They
not.
blur into
They
one
come and they
successful,
go.
yes,
Yeah, that's
night
right.
on some
The
level.
only time that you do quite often remember is when it happens again. You think, oh, I've been there at some stage. Now, what did I do?
And it's also that follow-up that we always
Yes,
have.
yes.
Let's have a look at those
You
elements.
break it all down.
And let's see
so
what
that
we
it
put in
doesn't happen
place.
again.
Yeah. What do we do?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Thanks.
They're the risk management type stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.